Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Black Man Beyond. I'm Marc Bernard, and I'm your host. As always, with these episodes, Kevin Smith is out in the world. He's touring Clerks 3. He's off being famous. He's doing Q&As till 3 o'clock in the morning. He's making sure that you love him as much as he loves you. And so in the interim, I like to hop on the feed and just to have a conversation. Don't let the feed go dry and still be able to talk to you guys about the stuff that I love. And this week, we have a special guest. We have the man who ushered in the age of the geek, baby. I have intersected with our guest host 3 times. Once he didn't know about, and then a couple of other times he maybe did. The first time was I was a writer for Entertainment Weekly, and I loved this comic book called Global Frequency. And the book was being adapted for television by a fellow named John Rogers. And so I emailed John Rogers out of the blue. I was like, listen, man, I want to write for this TV show. I'm not a writer yet. I'm just a journalist, but I want to do this. And he's like, hey, you should come to the set. And I said, then I will come to the set. So I fly my ass to Vancouver to the set of the show that ultimately never got made because a new president came into the CW and didn't like the old stuff and ruined everything. But I got to know John Rogers. And then John, over the course of, at this point now, like 10 or 15 years, would always kind of be in my corner when I needed somebody in my corner. And the first time that manifested was he invited me to pitch on a television show that he was then producing called Leverage. And I said, I love leverage. I would love to pitch on leverage. What do you look for in leverage? He's like, well, I need a heist. I need a thing to steal every week, and I need you to make the stars of my show look good. And I pitched him like 9 episodes of Leverage, and he didn't buy any of them. But he kept inviting me to pitch Leverage, which, the lesson there is failure should not be an obstacle. It should just be incentive. And so every time that I pitched, he kept on saying, all right, it's close. It's not there yet. You need A, B, C, D, and E. When I keep coming back and pitching, it never fucking took. But Leverage was the first time that I ever saw Aldis Hodge on screen. I was like, I like that dude. Like, I like what he's doing. I like what he's bringing to this show, which is a flavor that we hadn't really gotten to see on television before, which is smart, savvy, stylish, Black nerd. And we had never kind of gotten that before. And so to be able to live in that place where, hey, I can see myself minus 3 of those adjectives every week, then I will happily take it. And then the second time I ran into Aldis was in Comic-Con. I was at dinner at Nobu with a bunch of other Black nerds, and Aldis comes walking by, and he's like, the Black nerd radar went off, and then suddenly we all started talking, and we meet each other, and it was like we had known each other for years because we all do kind of swim in the same river. And then the third time was, I think it was 2 nights later at the Entertainment Weekly party at Comic-Con. I got to be a fly on the wall for when Aldis Hodge met Phil LaMarr, which was maybe my favorite moment of all of Comic-Con, which is no matter what your path is, no matter how, you might be starring as Hawkman in Black Adam movie, no matter what it is, we all have those things that we grew up loving. We all have those people who were avatars of the things that we were enamored with and invested in. And Phil LaMarr, as the voice of Jon Stewart in Justice League, the Justice League Animated show, was that person for lots of us. And even before that, he was, Virgil Hawkins in Static. Again, that person for all of us. And for some of it, it's Samurai Jack. He's the GOAT of animated voice work. And so to watch one Green Lantern meet another Green Lantern and fan out over each other was the most amazing thing that I've seen at Comic-Con in many a time. So when it came, trying to plan what Black Man Beyonds would be, in the span when Kevin is gone, I was like, I got to see if I can get Aldis. Like, I think Aldis would be fun to talk to. And so we made it fucking happen because sometimes the world is kind and the spheres align. And so welcome to the podcast, Aldis Hodge. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm outstanding. It is a Tuesday morning in Los Angeles.
Yes, it is.
One of us is celebrating a birthday today.
Don't know which one you're talking about.
I think it's JC. Happy birthday, JC.
Yeah, man. It's a Today is number 36 for me. So,
Number 36. Oh, you must feel old.
yeah. And I know 36, I guess, is technically relatively young, but mentally, life years, and yeah, I'm old as hell.
Yeah, my grandfather would ask me every year my birthday. He's like, "Hey, how do you feel?" And granted, when I was born, he was like 80 years old. So he's like, "How do you feel?" I was like, "I don't know how I'm supposed to feel." He's like, "Well, you're younger than I am, so you ought to feel good." And I was like, "Well, that's not helpful."
It's like,
What
you
am I supposed to do with that?
90, 1100 years old, man. Like, what are we doing there? But yeah, man, me and birthdays, I don't know. It's always weird. I don't really celebrate birthdays anymore. I kind of just like try to let it pass by, but the people around me won't let me pass it by. They're like, no, we're gonna do something. We're going out.
Well,
So
I'm sorry to fuck up your plans then, man, by mentioning your birthday at the top.
I actually every year I always used to say I just hope I'm working on my birthday, and eventually that started coming to pass. And I'm actually this is where I'm comfortable. This is where I live with it. But it's the going out and celebrating that I just be a little anxious about. I'm like, I'm good. I want attention.
Yeah, it's like you get there's the chunk of special ones when you're young, you know, like you make your 10th birthday, that's a big deal. 16 and 18 are big deals, 21's a big deal. And then they all start to be like, we don't really want to be talking about 30, right? Like, we're going to talk about 40 and then 50, like I made it to 50, that's great. And then every birthday after that, it's just, you're just not dead, I guess.
Yeah, I think for 50, I'll probably do something. I'll probably rock out a little bit, but like, I think after 25, I stopped making a meal of it. You know what I mean? Because just unnecessarily expensive for no reason.
I got to spend all this money now.
Yeah, man. But you know, I mean, I'm glad to see another year. So you know, I'm grateful. You know, it's been a brilliant year so far. You know,
it's been a big one, man. It's been a big one. But we'll get into the bigness of it a little bit later. Into the bigness a little bit later. I want to know which, if not both, of your parents are from the Caribbean.
My father.
Yeah.
My father, he's from St. Thomas. Yeah, he's Dominican West Indian from St. Thomas.
Gotcha. Yeah, because when I first encountered your name, like my grandfather, Cyril Lewis from Trinidad, my grandmother, Eugenie Holder from Barbados. And so when I hear like I've got cousins named like Mervyn and Alvin.
Yeah.
Like I hear that the Aldis.
Aldis Hodge, you know? Yeah, my pop's name is Aldis.
Oh yeah.
So I carry my pop's name, man. But yeah, I'm a Caribbean boy, you know? Ragamuffin.
Excellent. Where'd you grow up?
Oh man, born in North Carolina, raised in New York and Jersey for most of my childhood. And
What part?
Well, in Jersey was Trenton, Hackensack, Clifton, which is, you know, like I guess like around like Passaic County, Newark, all that. In New York, it was mostly Manhattan. And then for the last few years, I mean, I kind of been back and forth between LA and New York, been in Brooklyn for a little bit, you know, all up and down Brooklyn. I mean, Fort Greene, Bed-Stuy, you name it. But I still got fam out there, my pop out there, my brother's out there right now, shooting for FBI Most Wanted. So, you know, he's getting it, and I know he's happy to be back in New York because I don't know, something special about the East Coast, man. I mean, I'm cool with Cali. I dig it. Been here for a while, but East Coast is where I feel I don't know, my nature. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't get to spend as much time back east because I was born in the Bronx and then grew up on about 10 minutes outside of Co-op City.
Yeah, I got folks in Parkchester.
Yeah. So like I grew up there till I was about 10, then moved to the South Shore of Long Island. And then into Queens when I moved out of my parents' house, and then like got married and moved to New Jersey. But like for 40 years of my life, it was the tri-state area, right? And it was always going into Manhattan. And like that was the beating heart of my whole life. It's like, how do I get to Manhattan? What what train am I getting on? How am I gonna take the Long Island Expressway? Am I going to Midtown Tunnel, the 59th Street Bridge? Like, well, the 59th Street Bridge is free, so I gotta pay for that. So let's do that on the way in. And the Midtown Tunnel is free on the way out because they're happy to let you leave. So
It's funny, Manhattan used to be the spot to be, and now it feels like ever since gentrification, you know, Brooklyn, BK is getting up. I mean, of course, we've seen what happened with Dumbo and Williamsburg. Nice areas, just hella overpriced. And, you know, again, I'll be looking for where my people at, where we at. You know, you go down there and start looking hella different, start feeling things. How do you like it? I don't feel safe. Everything has changed. You know, it's crazy, but yeah, it's becoming a little bit more expensive now, or at least comparable to Manhattan. So
okay,
like the spot. Anybody who bought a brownstone like 10 years ago is living right now.
like who wants to buy this? I want to buy a yacht. I want to live like Jay-Z for a while. Somebody come and buy this 2-bedroom brownstone. But yeah, like every time I go back, every time I can find an excuse to be back in New York, it doesn't even have to be for that long. Like if I can be back there for like 2 or 3 days, like suddenly you just start to feel it again, right? Like suddenly, like, oh, all right, I remember all of this. I hop on the subway, and there's just something about that city. Like New York City and New Orleans are these two places that for some reason, like, and I've only ever visited New Orleans, but it's that feeling of, oh no, this place is old. This place has stories. This place has history. Like you can peel back the layers of both of those cities and just start finding like strata of culture. And like it just that feeling of it, like you just walk down the street and suddenly you're in a different neighborhood with completely different culture. And like, oh, I'm gonna eat this food here. I'm gonna go up here. I'm gonna do this here. And over there, that's a little bit dodgy. I'm not gonna hang out here, you know, but
New Orleans, man, I spent a lot of time there as well. Was it just there again this year? Because that's where we knock out Leverage Redemption, the reboot of Leverage. So yeah, I spent a lot of time. It took me a minute to actually enjoy New Orleans. I had to figure out every city I go to, because I'm a gypsy, I move around a lot. Every city I go to, I really got to figure out like what's my speed, you know, where am I at, where am I comfortable, and yeah, New Orleans. It took a couple years for me, you know. A couple years, but I finally kind of got the town figured out. So, and I got a couple restaurants there that I really love too. I mean, there's one called Lillet, and then there's another one that's actually I think owned by the same people called Boulani, and spots right there, nice. Yeah. So if you do that, I think they're off of Magazine Street, I believe. But yeah, man, New Orleans, bro, it got all right. I started in New Orleans after the pandemic, and it wasn't as crowded, and it wasn't as. I was like, okay, but then, you know, when people start getting back, and you got a lot of the locals back in there, and you know, it started popping up with the, you know, the second line and all that kind of stuff. And you feel it allows you to appreciate the culture a little bit because you've been devoid of it. But you know, you get to cats out there in the street playing music and jazz on every corner. You're like, oh yeah, this is what the spot is about. And it is the history of that place that makes it what it is. Yeah. If they changed it, if they modernized every part of New Orleans, and it's no longer New Orleans, it's just.
Yeah, like I love the fact that you can walk down any given street in the French Quarter and see the French names and the Spanish names for each of the streets, because that's how this town used to work. And there's still those little posts that have the horse heads on them from when people used to hitch up their horses to go into a restaurant. You know, exactly. It's like I love that at least it hasn't forgotten what it is.
Yeah, the only thing I don't rock with down there is in plantation houses. Well, every time I see one of them, I was just be like,
yeah. Like, hey, you want to go on a plantation tour? No, I don't.
Good. Why are you so happy about this? Let me tell you about the history. I'm good, fam. I know about the history.
Y'all have fun.
Man. Yeah, exactly.
Tell me the first time that you remember gravitating towards something that was comic book or science fiction. What was your first nerd thing? What was your first fixation?
Born this way. Real quick though, I definitely got to shout out John Rogers. Yeah, he will have your back. That brother, he actually taught me how to pitch and coached a couple of my first pitch meetings. And still I counsel John as a source of knowledge and guidance today. So John is dope. John Rogers is fire, man. So
Yeah,
yeah, shout out to
he's always been in my corner. He's always been like the first dude who's like, hey, you got a new thing? I'll read it.
exactly.
You
Yeah,
know?
that's John. Exactly. That is John. So but yeah, the first thing I remember, I tell this story religiously, but it's true. I remember being 3 years old doing a photo shoot. It was my first job. And as a reward, because I was on good behavior, my mom gave me a Batman toy. And, I'm again 3 years old and growing up, like Batman was it for me. So started doing work really because I was trying to be like my brother Edwin, who had started before me. And then I just knew that at the end of each job, I'm negotiating for a Batman toy or a comic, so that's kind of where it started. But Batman quickly evolved into Batman, Spawn, X-Men, primarily for Wolverine, Gambit, and Nightcrawler. Bishop as well. At a later stage, so animation pushed into anime. I'm a big anime head.
Yeah.
Grew up on, Rurouni Kenshin, Yu Yu Hakusho, Gundam, of course, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. Now I'm on all the dopeness like Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm waiting for Chainsaw Man. Like, I need you to come on. Hell's Paradise, come on, get it together. Where's the next season of One Punch Man? Where's the next season of My Hero Academia? I need y'all to get it together because I'm a fan and I need my stuff. But I'm all over, But then, of course, with comics and graphic novels, the one that I really dig down on that I'm not sure if not a lot of people know about is called Rising Stars. Have you ever heard of that one?
No.
It's a vibe, man. It's definitely a vibe. And it's just good storytelling. I saw that and I saw comics. I saw storytelling in the graphic novel space in a different way because it's the first time that the idea of superheroes were presented as human to me. Always up to this point seen superheroes as their own class, because they are in a world where only they can understand. But Rising Stars it humanized these people who were magnified this, big, powerful, embodiment of what we think we want to be. It humanized them in a way that I hadn't really seen before because it gave them real human flaws and errors. You know what I'm saying? So that was pretty dope. But yeah, man, and then of course grew up on video games and all that. I need them to do a super updated version of Skies of Arcadia because that's dope. Final Fantasy, my shit, all day. I'm sorry, you opened a can of worms, bro. Like,
no, it's listen. I've been walking down the can of worms aisle, like hoping we would start cracking some of these.
I'm a kid living in his imagination, and now I'm still an adult who lives in his imagination.
It's a beautiful thing, man. Like it is a very narrow slice of the world where you get to actually be a person who like, oh no, this is what I do. I get to kind of play. Even when it's work, it's play.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna need the Aldis Hodge anime sort of primer because like I dipped into anime early. Like I was a Ghost in the Shell kid, I was an Akira kid. I was like going into the film forum at midnight to go and see Akira when you couldn't see it anywhere.
Did you watch Ninja Scrolls?
I watched Ninja Scroll, hell yeah.
Okay, Ninja Scroll, and obviously Naruto, but that's like classic. So yeah. Go ahead.
But like that, and then there was like I think it was like after the Lupin stuff and I got into the Miyazaki stuff, but then there was this weird minute where I guess it was a break that me and anime had for like 10 years. And then once you do that, it is like impossible to dig back in because, like I said, all right, I'm trying Attack on Titan. All right, this looks kind of good. What is happening here? All right, I'm gonna try I'm gonna try it. Ooh, okay, fair.
Actually, I mean, I will say Attack on Titan is actually pretty dope. That's definitely one that's on the list. If you are looking for good fight choreography and fight movement, Guys of High School, I think is really ill because I grew up a fighter. I was a martial artist, and a lot of times I look at practicality. You know, how are they composing the fights and all that? You know, I'm looking for different angles, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, man, Guys of High School is pretty dope. Combat. It's not an anime, it's a video game, but it needs to become a movie, please, and an anime soon. But it's of course Metal Gear Solid. I mean, that's like top tier. They need to. I wanted to do. I wanted to acquire the rights to Metal Gear and make a movie out of it, but of course the rights were already being held. But that as a movie on a massive, I'm talking epic Star Wars level, is going to be the hottest property out because there's so many people that the storyline and God dang it, Raven, like, ah man, Snake, it's their villains were amazing. And storyline was pretty dope. But yeah, it was hot. It was hot.
Yeah, I have those memories of like 1 o'clock in the morning on my PS1 playing Metal Gear and then being kind of trapped into like a 20-minute cutscene. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, let me save the game. I just got to go to sleep. I got to get up for work in the morning, but oh, damn. All right. I'm going to sneak into this building.
Exactly. And what is it? It's Raiden, right? Raiden was like the cyborg. And it's like, oh man, that to me, if it was done as a film, it's competing with the game. They would have to be so excellent with how they just knock out the action sequences and all that kind of stuff, because that's what I live for. I'm like, can I see, you know, because the video game, their cutscenes were, I'm talking, yeah, incredible. So they would need to really match that or step it up beyond. But yeah, I get very passionate about, because I grew up on action films, and being a fighter, I always looked towards I mean, you know, when I was a kid, it was of course, like, you know, Jet Li, Jean-Claude Van Damme, it was Chow Yun-fat, Donnie Yen, now most recently Iko Uwais, Tony Jaa. I mean, these are incredible athletes. I mean, Iko Uwais, I found out about him from The Raid Redemption, which is my favorite fighting movie, hands down, right? Because the choreography is insane. And along with that camera work, it was creative, stylistic, it was storytelling, it was narrative, the camera work and the fighting work in a really fantastic way. So that is top tier for me. But
versus
you know,
The Raid, one versus two. You like two better than one?
The Raid 1 is my top.
All right.
That's the OG. Raid 2 is good, but it's just like with Ong Bak. They did a sequel to that. The first Ong Bak is my top tier. Yeah.
Where does Ip Man fall for you?
Ip Man is up there because I actually practiced. I trained in Wushu when I was a kid, so Ip Man is up there. I can't tell you which Ip Man. There's 4 of them, I believe. I've seen 3. So I'd have to figure out that last one, but the first one really does a good job of, I think, going into story. Oh, no, actually, I've seen all of them, but the first one, I think it's a really good storytelling point about the sort of the inception of the style from a poetic perspective and not super commercialized and overzealous and overdone. I think they did a really nice subtle job with it, but they also highlighted the beauty in the fighting style, because going from Southern Shaolin Kung Fu into Jeet Kune Do and then Wushu. Jeet Kune Do is sort of a subsidiary of Wushu. It's more of a street fighting style version that was developed by Bruce Lee, right? So with Wushu as a base, there's a little more flow, super powerful, but there's a little more ease. Jeet Kune Do is really quite nice, but it's also a little faster, a little sharper. And there's a little more elegance when it comes to Wushu. I mean, if I'm in a street fight, I'm choosing either Muay Thai or Jeet Kune Do. I'm getting at it. You know what I mean? If I'm competing or if I want to really accentuate movement for camera, I'm going Wushu because you get beautiful flow and it's almost like, fighting ballet or something like that. Again, I get passionate about these things.
No, I'm here with you, man. Because I have some years on you. So I grew up I was born in 71. And sort of that late 70s, early 80s, especially living in New York, it was all about Bruce Lee. It was all about Kung Fu movies. It was all about 36 Chambers of Shaolin. It was all about Five Deadly Venoms. It was all about the Peking opera style of Kung Fu, which is far less applicable to anybody because it's a dance, which is fine, but it was everything. Like it was action that you'd never seen before because guys are flying through the air and the kicking was never a thing that happened before. You watch cowboy movies and it's just the same 2 or 3 punches and suddenly these guys are having these 10-minute long fights. Those were my first superhero narratives were Kung Fu movies. I went to that before I got to, it was like that and Godzilla was my entree point. And then later on, I would discover the X-Men and Spider-Man and Secret Wars was my jam early on. And then that led me to all the rest of the Marvel universe and then eventually got into DC. But I entered that as it's Star Wars, Kung Fu, and Godzilla are the holy trinity for me. And so then action cinema also became my cinema. And then you get the 80s, you get all of the nonsense that would appear on home video that you would get. All right, sure, Bloodsport, this looks good. But then there's 19 other Van Damme movies that have since lost any theories about martial arts. I'm just I'm gonna do this split kick and hit 2 guys, and that's the thing.
Let me ask you something. Have you seen a movie called Only the Strong?
Is that Michael Jai White?
No. Mike is a dope martial artist as well.
Yeah.
And what is it? I think his name's Scott Adkins, who's insane. But Only the Strong is about capoeira. And man, that was my first introduction to capoeira. When you watch that movie, there's one brother right now who is crazy insane with capoeira. I believe it's Latif Crowder, I believe his name is. I might have that wrong, but he's an insane martial artist, but capoeira is his jam. And I mean, that brother he's talk about an athlete, but when you look at Only the Strong, that was my introduction to understanding even what it was. And yeah, man, I would definitely jump on. I'm trying to think of who was starring in it because I know the name is on the tip of my tongue, and we have Google for all these things.
You mean the box with the good? What's the name?
Marc Dacascos.
Marc Dacascos.
Yeah.
I remember he did a movie with Kadeem Hardison that I can't remember the name of, but who I'm sure is who Alec Hardison was named after. But
probably, Kadeem is awesome. Kadeem is good people, man.
Yeah, but I remember that movie was so who is this dude? Marc Dacascos, he's killing it. And now he's hosting Iron Chef because he's got to get that money.
Which is another one of my loves, man. Grew up cooking and Iron Chef was my jam, bro. I mean, Iron Chef was everything. I love cooking shows.
I mean, the pandemic was a big deep dive into I'm gonna watch all 10 seasons of Great British Baking Show. I'm gonna catch up on all these master chefs. I'm gonna watch a lot of Hell's Kitchen. I went deep and hard.
See, I don't really bake much at all. My baking is non-existent. I'm just keeping it honey. So I don't really watch the baking shows as much, right? But the cooking shows, I mean, Iron Chef was it. God, what is that? Chopped is one of my jams because I like how people just go in there because my brother and I, we grew up cooking, island boy, that's what we do, right? we get up in there, get some random stuff, and try to make magic, man. We used to get in trouble staying up late at night watching cooking shows. My mom used to come in the room like, y'all better not be watching that Skinamax. It's like, no, I'm trying to
It's a
figure out.
barefoot Contessa. Like, she's just doing some shit in here.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to figure out how to make this white wine sauce and this, Uh,
Bernays,
but
Mom, Bernays.
God dang it. It's not Barbara, it's Bernays. But Emerald Lagasse back in the day was like, that's what I used to get in trouble for. Bam. That's bam. God damn the bam. But
So
yeah.
so tell me how a kid, growing up, an actor, a performer, very young, right? Like, you wasn't fucking around. Like, you got in there early.
Yeah, man. Early.
Got in there early. Grew up a martial artist, an athlete. Like, why has your resume not been filled with these kind of movies, man? Like, why have you not been fucking punching motherfuckers in the face? A lot.
I have no idea. I've always wanted to be a part of, some kind of action movie, just because that's what I grew up on and what I wanted to experience, from the point of being a performer and also from the point of just being somebody who appreciates it. And I look at things with a keen eye to figure out how to elevate where we've been to where we're trying to go, because I know what I want to see. And when I see it done well, that becomes a different thing. Like, that's why when I see The Raid and I watch how the fights are composed, boom, it makes sense to me, because I'm like, this is an elevation. Now, can we do this in a grander way, right? When I watch a movie like Extraction, I see the camera movements being executed in a wholly different way. The visuals on that, the cinematography was for stunts, for action, insane. So me, I've always tried, but for some reason, my career has led me down a different path, and it took me a little longer to get to here. So now, with Black Adam, I actually have a grand opportunity to really just experience that, flex my muscles a little bit, and dive into what that world is. And I'm just grateful to even have that opportunity at this point, But man, I've always tried, but I remember I was just never, I don't know if I was just never the guy or never had the appeal, the look, you know what I'm saying? But your timing is your timing. And my timing is, well, I'll say this, my timing has always been, but my timing to jump into this is right now.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the Black Adam experience for you. Like, tell me, I've seen on the Instagram, I've seen me like, I get the call from DJs, call me, tell me to be in a movie. But like, what was the audition process like? Like, when did somebody say, hey, so they got this movie called Black Adam? Is it a thing you know anything about? Do you want to get down on it? Do you want to audition for it? Like,
nah, it was really more of like a meeting first between Jama and the director and I read the script, and they wanted me and Jama to get on the horn and just chop it up, see how we felt, see if there was some synergy. And Jama's mad cool, but right off bat, from the first conversation, I could tell that he was already thinking about how to make improvements. He was a visionary, and that definitely shows through the film, because man, this film is insane. But yeah, it's dope, man. But it was just really trying to figure out the vibe. And then after that, putting some words on camera just to feel, just sort of, producers could feel how my approach to the character was. And I remember there was a part of me that was so in my head and nervous about it that I actually did. It was a self-tape, and I was actually in New Orleans shooting Leverage. So in between shooting, I snuck off to the little casting joint to put myself on tape. And then I was at home putting myself on tape. I ran that tape over 300 times before I submitted, because this was like too comfortable of a situation. It's not like, oh, hey, you got the job. It's just like, you're very close to it. And in your mind, you're like, okay, this is mine to lose. I always think that I'm not the only consideration. I'm not the only, but when you know there's a lot of favor and a lot of support carried with you in the room, you're like, all right, now I gotta really, it makes you even more nervous. You know what I'm saying? I'm more comfortable when the odds are far more comfortable. But put the stuff on tape, re-recorded several times. And then after that, you know, waited a couple of weeks, it was kind of radio silence. And I realized DJ wanted to, he was working, but he wanted to be the one to call me. So he took the time out, and he actually called me the day after my birthday in 2020. What was that, 34, I think? Yeah. So he called me the day after my birthday, and I was like I told you, I always want to be working on my birthday, man. So like I just got a crazy insane job then. I just got a really fantastic job now, and again on my birthday. So manifest that stuff. You'll be specific.
Give me a present.
Yeah, that was the process, man. And when he told me, I did feel like it was low-key winning the lottery. I imagine what I would imagine winning the lottery is like, because it was a feeling of euphoria I had never felt before in my career, that, oh, we finally, because I've been trying to knock down action films forever. I've been trying to get in the superhero universe for like 15 years at that point. You know, trying to just jump in. I was grabbing at every audition, or there's a lot of auditions I couldn't get, you know? So for me, it was the culmination of all that effort, and sometimes often embarrassment, coming to fruition and saying, okay, this is what it was all about. You know, it's preparation. And also, don't give up, because you don't ever know what's in store for you. Like, with opportunities I wanted before, I realized it would not have been this experience for me. And this has been an amazing, beautiful, and wholly unique experience for me, because with this film, we're at the precipice of being able to start something. We get to begin something new. And what we get, an opportunity to introduce, for all of us, man, is really, I think in a creative way, quite superlative, but as an opportunity, really unique and amazing. And I'm just excited. You know, it couldn't have happened in a better way. So it's the whole process for me. The Black Adam experience is great. Shooting is great. The cast is incredible. They're amazing human beings off screen, and, you know, couldn't be more grateful for that, because for something like this to work, you really need everybody to be just gracious and everybody was there to have fun. You know, but our producing team is amazing. Our director, again, Jean-Michel Sarah, he's awesome, man. DJ's great. So it's been a really nice, comfortable experience. You know, felt supported the entire way through. I don't think I could have asked for it to be any different, you know, and that's not, it's not blowing smoke and nothing like that. It's just being honest about the fact that I've been in some situations that were tough, and I'm grateful for this. For as big as it is, I'm grateful for this one to be exactly what it is.
Yeah. No, I love the idea that for you, winning the lottery is going to work.
Hell yeah.
You know, and because for some people, like, I'm gonna win the lottery, like, I'm gonna sit on my ass for the next 40 years and just find a way to spend this money. But
I have a problem with the idea of vacation or taking a break. It's how I was raised. I mean, again, I've been in this business since I was a kid. It ain't all been pretty and flowers, so the hustle is up. And I do need to learn how to adopt the idea of vacation. But for me, my work is my passion, and I formed all of my hobbies into my streams of revenue. So I don't feel like I have to go to work every day, right? And for me, the opportunity to be creative in this way, that is the real lottery for sure, because I have to grow, I have to expand and evolve as a performer, as a businessman, as an actor. just as a man myself, right? So when I think about all that opportunity, I'm like, damn, this is growth in so many different areas I can't even put into words. But the opportunity for that is rare. It doesn't come around a lot. You know, I don't get to be comfortable in this space. When I come up out of here, my potential is now magnified to a point I can't even understand. So that's what I went into the game looking for. When it came to this shoot, I was about to be prepared, ready, about to learn everything I could learn. And, you know, those 15 years of trying to jump into this very specific genre was all preparation. So I'm not finna waste that. Nah, we going to work. You know, tell me, hey, here's a month where you have to do nothing. Nah, we're not doing
that. What is it like preparing to have to take your shirt off in a movie with The Rock in it?
Oh man, well, I can't say if I take my shirt off in this movie or not. I can say.
Spoilers, man, just go and give it away.
And that was grueling, but also awesome. The worst part about getting your body prepared is discipline when it comes to nutrition. And not like you have to be super specific. And I had a short amount of time to do it too. Like I had maybe, I would say from the time I think I got cast in September 2020. We went to picture around April, May, right? So it was training all the time, but you see somebody like The Rock, he been doing that for years. You know what I'm saying? His body he made like that. You get a few months. You got to put your body through a lot to transform. You know, muscle don't grow overnight or over a week or over, you know, you really, in terms of expansion and forming, it takes training the body to become, like, it's like, I call it metabolic tricking. you gotta trick your body. So when I learned the nutritional part, because working out, being in the gym, pumping weights, that's nothing, that's easy. I think cardio is quite disrespectful. I cannot stand running, gets on my damn nerves. Running tries to kill me every time. So, but when it comes to like understanding how fat works in the body and cutting fat in certain areas, that's nutrition, man. And that's where you got to be most disciplined. So you probably hear a little person in the back. I got a little squishy person who's probably angry about feeding right now.
No, squishies. All right, I got a couple more questions for you, things to talk about before we let you bounce and enjoy your birthday and your squishy person.
Sure.
I did find it ironic is the wrong word because I don't think it's irony, but you're playing Hawkman.
Yeah.
The Egyptian god that looks like a hawk is named Horus.
Yes.
And you are deep into horology.
Yeah.
See what I did?
I found what you did there.
I see them.
Yeah.
How did that happen for you? Horology. Like, was that a thing you've always been interested in, timepieces? Or is that a new thing?
Yeah, I'm a creative nerd through and through. Definitely not super smart, but I'm an applied mathematician. That means that if you give me a book on math, I don't know shit. I'm not going to remember nothing. If you give me something to do with math, then I'll be able to retain the knowledge. I started in architecture. I mean, when I was 13, I used to intern at a firm from 13 to 15. I interned at a firm in Santa Monica and worked on projects. Then after a few years of college, because I started college when I was like 14, by the time I got to art school, I was going to be there for architecture and product design. And then that matured into horology because I could take it with me while I was still acting. With architecture, I would have had to quit. With horology, it was architecture, chemistry, micromechanical engineering, and art all formed into this one ball that for me was a way I could eloquently express my my opinion, my love for and celebrate my culture through this piece of work, you know.
Mhm.
So I had to learn a completely different science. Still learning it. Had to learn, well, I'm terrible at French, but I'm still learning French as well. It's a necessity, even though I'm just lazy. But I just love the design part. I'm old school with it, man. And it allows me to have a different kind of conversation culturally. And it gives me a different outlet for creative expression so that when I'm down in other areas, i.e., acting, entertainment, all that kind of stuff, I have an outlet that gives me a sense of space and freedom where I feel whole and full and warranted because, you know, art, creativity, that's my language. If I can't, you will usually catch me in the streets with my drafting book and a pencil. And if I don't have them next to me, I low key feel like I'm missing something, like I get anxious, you know what I mean? Because I'll design whatever. Uh, and that's what I still love. I still want to rock with different brands now on the art directing side or whatever and collaborate designing anything from products, clothes, just because I like giving people a new perspective on how to engage product, familiar product in a very new way, refreshing way. But right now, watchmaking is such it's such a cultural and a life lesson in many forms that it's teaching me to again evolve. And I like to put myself in uncomfortable positions, not dangerous, but uncomfortable positions, unfamiliar positions in order to grow. I also have an unbearably consistent knack for wanting to do difficult things. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, every new role is a new problem to solve, right? Like every new story is its
Yeah,
own kind of watch you got to make. Like it has an
that's
internal, there's an
not
internal math to it. There's some engineering to it. You know, like
right.
all of these gears have to mesh, otherwise the story doesn't work.
Yeah,
They're not that dissimilar when you think about it.
they're really not. The approach is not necessarily the approach can be to both can be similar in terms of the approach to the work of watchmaking and horology versus the work of like acting. The expectation of outcome is different because with watchmaking, math has to be absolutely perfect. There's no room for deviation. If you're off by 0.02 millimeter, then the watch is off. You know, it's either not working or it's off a few seconds or gaining too much time. It's all that, right? With people, perfection is messy. So you have to allow yourself to be like math, 1+1 is 2. That works for watchmaking. With humans, 1+1 is 5. And you're like, the fuck, you know what I mean? But then you got to go through that road to figure out how to get back to 2, you know? And it's because people are messy, confusing, and they're not exact and they're not always predictable, which makes them human. So the understanding of what to expect in terms of the sum of this creation, it's as long as you realize what field you're playing in, then you know you're not going to be surprised by the result. But at the end of the day, I do break down people and these characters technically to a degree. I'm really not, as far as like backstory and things like that, I'm not too specific sometimes.
Mm.
Um, I go off of honest intention for where they are. You know, backstory fills out a lot of what happened in the past. If we're touching on that, then that's something, you know, we can really figure out. But for me, mostly, like, of course, with playing, you know, Carter Hall and Black Adam has a rich backstory. And we have to figure out which backstory we're going into and how this shapes him because that is wholly who he is wholly dependent and is determined really by his history.
Mhm.
So now what does he do with that history going forward? So there's a situation where I have to be fully aware and sure of the backstory. But then there's characters where they don't know who they are and they don't understand what their backstory is. So they need to figure out who they are from where they are. And we're discovering what life is. We're shaping them as we're going along the journey. Again, different approaches to whatever is being asked of you. But at the end of the day, there's a process for approaching each kind. I think you need to strongly define understanding what the job is and how to really get the best out of that particular job, i.e., because the free part of creating when it comes to watchmaking, the free part is the first part, which is, okay, you understand how to make a watch, look. Okay, cool. Where's the design acumen? Where's the DNA that people have done? That cannot be technical at all. That's the part that has to be messy and organic for you to really find a design that's indicative of you. Because I was a conceptual designer for a number of years, designing around the same movements that everybody in the industry uses. And it's hard to be unique in that way because it's hundreds of thousands of different, it's hard, you have to fight to be unique and deliberate. When people look at your design, there has to be very specific and deliberate intention there. And that's with any design, really, because that's your mark. Sorry, I can like blah, blah, blah all day.
No, that's all I wanted to do, man, was open these cans of worms.
Yeah, man. I got a little more time. I got another like 15, 20. We can keep pushing, bro, because just let the little chubby person is fine right now. So.
Like you just eyes go wide. You're like, we gotta go. Like shit's about to melt down in that room. I need to be off of this right now. There's happiness I need to maintain. Do you like going on press tour? Like I know that you're about to launch into what has to be this massive international tour in support of Black Adam, right? Is that a thing you dig?
I do dig. Here's what I say to people, to young actors a lot, even some actors that got a little life on them, and they don't like to do press. They don't like to do that part. I'm like, your job is not done when they roll, cut on the last frame. You've only shot the movie. Now you got to sell the movie. But if you feel like being a part of films, you got to be a part of the whole package. And if you are invited to be on a press tour, that's actually a great privilege. I've been a part of a lot of projects that I was never considered when it comes to the press tour. Nobody want to give me love. And all right, cool, whatever, I can get it. Or you could be on the press tour and you're not prioritized and you're just sitting there wasting your time. You're like, why am I here? So get the opportunity, again, the opportunity, not the obligation. But if you get the opportunity to be on a press tour and actually speak on the behalf of what it is you're doing, and that is an amazing sort of benchmark rather of your career for elevation, to say that now I've gotten to this place where somebody's entrusting me to go represent this project, and hopefully I don't say the wrong thing to mess it all up. Yeah, I love her. I've never been on a worldwide press tour before. I've been in the game 33 years, and this is my first worldwide. I've done press tours around America, around the nation, but yeah, man, it's this is going to be cool. I'm looking forward to what exactly is about to happen and how it's really going to go down. But it is a lot of work, though. The press tour sometimes seems harder than shooting the film sometimes, just because you're moving, man. It's like you're on a concert. You in here, boom, you do press from 8 in the morning to like 6, 7 at night. Then, depending on your schedule, you might be on the next plane out in 2 seconds. So it's a lot of work, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. And also how can you find 48 different ways of answering the same question?
So that's what I have a tough time with. That is where it's like, I want to say something different so that people don't see, like you said, 48 interviews of me answering the same exact way. But how can I say the same thing in a different way where it's still the same answer so people get consistent, you know what I mean? And outside of that, like, I don't know if the questions are screened prior, but I would think as a journalist, you'd want to ask the most, I guess it's hard to say unique question, but the most, what is the one question you can ask that you know you're the only one with? You know what I mean? The only you have the only conversation about boom here.
Mhm.
And I get those are probably really hard questions to figure out and come up with. So it's a tough job on both sides. But yeah, man, I'll be trying to I don't know. I'm like answering, yeah, so how do I order coffee? 17 different ways.
So Aldis, were the wings heavy? I'm sure is the question
Yeah.
you're going to get more often than not. Like I've been on that other side. I never did junkets a lot because I always kind of hated that. I was never a person like because I was a journalist for 25 years.
Right.
Um, and I worked for Entertainment Weekly and the LA Times and Hollywood Reporter, and like I was an editor more than I was a writer. So I was never like the cat. Well, I was the guy sending people to junkets, not the cat who actually went to junkets.
Right, right.
Unless I got to talk to writers. I would do a junket to talk to writers because then you get to ask all like the, hey, tell me how you fucking did that. Like that was
Yeah.
my first question to because I talked to the Endgame guys. I talked to McFeely and Marcus. And then it becomes just a question of craft, right? Then it's like, what are the pressures on you? What could you do? What couldn't you do? When do you know that you're going to kill this character off? Whatever that is, it gets like
Right.
dense that way.
Hold on one second.
Oh, we knew it was going to happen. And we knew it was going to happen exactly when he said it was going to happen. It's like 11:02. Yeah. The eyes went wide. Yeah. Yeah. While we have Alice taking a quick break, Batman is here.
I'll jump in. I want to share a couple comments from chat that I really enjoyed. Oh, look at that. My BAM fin is all screwed up here. Oh, we're back. Okay, I don't need
He's
to.
back. Did somebody need a hug?
No, but continue. I mean, I would imagine for you, that's where you thrive just because as a writer, you're like, I'm about to start farming for education.
Yeah, then hopefully it becomes a conversation and not a question and answer, right? That's what you always hope for. Junkets are hard to get that because you got 6 minutes opposite a dude in director's chair who's got another train of people behind him. So if you can find that one question that you can like, I bet you nobody's asked him that. And then you get that feeling of like the life preserver eyes, like, thank you for not asking me if the wings were heavy. Thank you for having done some fucking research, but with anything else to talk about. Did we lose somebody?
It looks like we lost him.
We lost Aldis. All right. I will just keep telling that story. The fact that like every question is the same, if you can come up with that one question to make a person who's listened to 58 different variations on the same thing over and over again smile and just like, oh, thank God. All right, let's talk about this. Let's talk about anything else but this. That's a little like feather in your cap. That's a little moment of grace, I think, for both parties concerned, where it's just like, oh, man alive, a different question. And also, you can, as the person on the receiving end, kind of reframe the question to talk about whatever you really want to talk. A little bit of a secret. You can kind of reject the premise of the question and then just kind of say, well, yeah, no, that's true. The wings were heavy, but I just want to talk about what they meant to me. I want to talk about how A, B, C, D, and E, and then get to tell a story about whatever you want to talk. But yeah, you had some anecdotes, Banff man.
Banff. Yeah, I have some things that people said in chat because I was. Oh, Aldis is back. Hold on.
We're never gonna get to talk to you. Hey.
Yeah, that was pretty ghetto. My junk, damn, how my computer is plugged up, ain't it? Well, my computer apparently Died.
Yeah.
Even though I got sitting here plugged up, but you know, want to be on that bush.
It happens to the best of us.
Happens to the best. So, sir, you were saying.
Yeah. I was just saying that like you get those moments of levity, of grace, of gratitude when you can ask a person a question that they haven't been asked before. You know, that feeling of like, oh, Christ, we get to, excellent. Let's talk about watches.
Yeah. It's like you said, it goes from Q&A to conversation. And as you can tell, I talk a lot. I'm very long-winded, but I enjoy having conversation. You know, I'm trying to discover something myself. So, like, you know, what are we talking about? Let's
make an exchange of ideas,
exactly.
Which is hard in 5 minutes because they got to get their quotes that they know they got to plug into their story. But like,
I can imagine being a journalist because it's like, here, 3 minutes, you have 45 questions to ask. Go. Like, wait, what?
Yeah. Like the few times that I've actually like written stories for those magazines, where it's about a profile, it's about a person. Like I need days. I don't need hours. I need days. Like you gotta let me just roll with this person for a while. You gotta let me hang out. You gotta let me go to their work, go to their house. You gotta let me like I need hours just to fucking talk.
Right.
Like I don't want to have to run down this list of questions on my fucking index cards. I want to just talk to somebody, get to know them, and then we'll get there. We'll get around to it. I remember once having to interview Christopher Nolan about Dark Knight Rises, and it was very cute. We were at this hotel in New York in Chelsea, and I was supposed to sit and have tea with Christopher Nolan and ask him a couple questions, and then he was supposed to have 1 cup of tea. And then once that cup of tea was over, the publicist was supposed to tap him on the shoulder and say, "I'm sorry, Chris, we have to go to something else." But then he orders a 2nd cup of tea. And then the publicist comes over. It's like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "No, I'm fine. I'm having a good time." Like your girl's like, "Hey, no, the whatever, something else is happening. We gotta, no, this is great, but the car's on fire." Like, here's a signal that you established to extricate you from a scenario that you can then override.
Yeah,
man. So okay, press tour, excited to fucking do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you cannot tell me what's next because that's just the way life is.
What's next is the premiere Black Adam.
There it is. Well played. See, what I like there is rejecting the premise of the question. And just saying what you want to say anyway.
Yeah,
that's a boss move.
We're working on a lot of good things next, but there's this. There is another project that I'm attached to that will probably be announced quite soon, so I can't say anything there.
Excellent.
I will say this though, I guess. Getting back to the anime, because I just wrote anime that I'm really happy about. I see that back, and I was like, so jumping on that because I have 2 companies. I have Hodge Brothers Productions with my family. That's more live action, film, television, things like that. And then I have a company called 9B Collective. It's an art studio that I co-own with Mike Uwandi and Phil Boutte Jr. And what we do as a conceptual art studio is like, we work for film, television, video game, animation, illustration. Like if DC has another big film, they're like, okay, here are the superheroes we're talking about. Here's the story. What does it look like? We're the guys who design the concept of the world building, the character costumes, all that kind of stuff, vehicles, props. We do all that. Mm-hmm. We are moving into different areas, one of them being our own originally produced IP, and that's where we're going. So this pilot I just wrote is sort of a hybrid collaboration, and that's going to be one of our first things out. So we're working on that right now. Can't tell you what it is exactly.
That's all right. That's all right. All I want to know, all I'm happy to hear is that we're going to get to see some Aldis Hodge joints out into the world. The dude who wanted to make this stuff is getting to make this stuff. The dude who wanted to be a fucking superhero is getting to be a goddamn superhero. Not only did you win the lottery, we get to win the lottery because you won the lottery.
You're too kind, brother. Too kind.
Listen, man, you get back to your day. It seems like shit is about to pop off in the other room, maybe in a good way, maybe in a bad way.
Yeah, I think it's a great. She's fine. She's about to go to sleep.
Excellent. All right. Well, you go give those kisses and you go
Okay.
have yourself an excellent birthday, man. Have a fantastic press tour. And we'll
Thank
see you on the other side.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank
Okay.
you. And that, boys and girls, was Aldis Hodge.
Bamf. Okay.
And Batman is back. Tell me some stories.
Okay. Maybe he'll pop back in and I don't have to talk. But until that point, first off, I just want to say, as he's closing out and he's talking about both his production companies, I think he's talking about having a daughter. He's a martial artist. He's an actor. He makes watches. Does everybody else feel completely lazy? Like, I do like half those things and don't have time to do anything else. I can't even imagine.
No.
But I wanted to share some people in chat. Shin Akakage says Aldis needs to remake Passenger 57. That was when he was talking about all of the martial arts. Braden Gosi said, I'd love to see Aldis kicking ass as Batman, which I know you've always said, like, doesn't make sense for Batman to be a black guy because of the history, but, like, I'd go watch him be Batman. Victor Venn Diagram said, I kind of want Hodge to reboot Bourne now. Then Sean Flum said, about 650 people just got an education in how to build your professional life into your loves, which I thought was made sense, but also like, you know, like right on. Matt says, please have him back on with Kevin for a 5-hour long show. I bet Kevin will actually stay silent. And then Michael Aubert said at the end, on a podcast usually co-hosted by Kevin Smith, this man thinks he's long-winded, and he isn't completely wrong, but we love it.
Excellent.
So I thought a ton of love for Aldis in the chat. So much
Outstanding.
love.
Yeah. No, he was so fun to talk to. And the beauty of it is that I had no idea where we would be going, really. Like, I didn't expect a 15-minute detour into action cinema or anime or any of that stuff, but fuck it, let's go. Let's talk about it, because I'm interested in all of it.
I just was mesmerized. I've never, ever gone back and re-watched a Fat Man Beyond, and I think I've been doing this almost as long as you have. Like, I started 6 months after you were the co-host of the show. I've never rewatched an episode, and I was like, I think I got to go back and watch this and take notes when we're
seriously. Like, I do need that anime primer, and he seemed to deliver it with passion and clarity. So yeah, I'm gonna totally fucking do that. It's funny, at the top of the show, even before the top of the show, you know, when Aldis hopped on, I was like, hey man, we can do one or two things. Like, you can just hop on as a guest, and you know, we can talk about whatever, and then you can bounce out in, like, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes, and then I'll go off and do the rest of the show. So you can just stick around as a co-host. And I was like, I'll do the whole show. That'll be great. And then that didn't happen, because he did have a heart out, and I don't think anybody told him that this podcast tends to go at least 2 hours. So we are going to do the first version that he didn't think we would do anyway, but I kind of knew we would in the back of my head, especially as we got to talking about making watches. Which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, I mean, he did stay 15 minutes past his heart out, so
he did.
He did give us bonus time.
He gave us bonus time because I think he was having a good time, and so I will take it. So yeah, we are going to get into the news, and then I guess we can do some Q&A at the tail end of that. But before we do that, we have an ad to read. This episode of I was about to say Fat Man Beyond, but it's not, because it's only me here. This episode of Black Man Beyond is brought to you by the good folks at Blue Chew. See, I wish we could do a raise of hands in the chat, but then I'd have to be looking at the chat to do that, because I'm trying to choose which of the two intros I should read. I think I'll do this one, guys. It's that summer heat into the bedroom. Confidence can take you far in life. It can also help you in the boudoir, especially when it comes time to step up to the plate, and that's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Best part, it's all done online. So no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. So they say that first impressions are important, but what about lasting impressions? And to make a lasting impression, you're going to need some Blue Chew. So if you can benefit from some extra confidence when it's time to perform, Blue Chew can help. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code FATMAN at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code FATMAN, to receive your first month free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. Ta-da! All right, let's get into some fucking news. There has been a little bit of news here and there. I will say that I'm caught up on House of the Dragons. I am not caught up on Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. So I won't go too deep into them other than to say, like, House of the Dragon, still like maybe one of the best casts currently working on TV. I do kind of wish that we would have more to talk about in this show besides, boy, can we actually have a queen? Women can't rule. It's going to tear the realm apart. I know. So yeah, I'm just kind of I'm waiting for the gears to catch. But I'm still watching. It's not like I'm giving up. I mean, it's fucking Game of Thrones, man. Of course I'm gonna watch. So anyway, the news. Here's the thing I never expected to be able to say, but I'm kind of glad that I can, which is Keanu Reeves is returning to play Constantine for a Warner Brothers sequel. Keanu Reeves, director Francis Lawrence are both returning. Akiva Goldsman will write the screenplay and produce, as will J.J. Abrams and Hannah Minghella from Bad Robot. Yeah, man, like everything old is new again, apparently. And then, of course, some of the new things we'll never see. But of all of the boneheaded moves that Warner Brothers Discovery has made in the past couple of months, this does not seem to be one of them, at least not to me. What's up?
I was just going to say, everything old is new again, except for Keanu Reeves, who never has grown old.
He remains evergreen. And, you know, God bless him. I mean, fucking John McFour is coming. We're getting another Constantine. Like, who knew? I certainly didn't, but I'm glad for it. The Keanu-sance is real, and I'm here for it. In other news, Batman the Caped Crusader is shaking its cowled ass on the market. We talked, I guess, a couple of weeks ago about, again, some of those previously mentioned Warner Brothers Discovery boneheaded moves, is that Warner Brothers Animation is producing an animated series, a Batman animated series, executive produced by Bruce Timm and Ed Brubaker, with Matt Reeves, the guy who directed, no relation to Keanu, but who directed The Batman, and J.J. Abrams. They're making a big ass fucking Batman animated show. And for some reason, HBO Max decided they didn't want to air said animated show, and they have then released Warner Brothers Animation to see if they can find another home for it, someplace else on the internet. It seemed like a foregone conclusion that somebody would want to air a Batman show. And it seems as if, yes, they are at the very least having lots of high profile meetings. Netflix, Amazon, and Apple seem to be the big contenders for where it would go. It was really never going to appear on Disney Plus for any number of reasons other than petty ones. And petty is not the best reason to make a business decision, but as theorized by both lots of people on the internet and myself, we are at some point going to see this show, which I hope we do because I wrote an episode of it and I'd love to be able to see it on my television. So hopefully some more clarity will come in the coming weeks as to where this will land. But I know they're still making it, so it'll be somewhere. It'll have to be somewhere. In other news, I shouldn't introduce every news item with in other news because that seems like it's a given. But anyway, Stephen King's novel Fairy Tale recently dropped from Scribner, his publisher, and already there's a feature film adaptation in the works. Paul Greengrass, who made two of the three, oh no, four. He made three of the four Bourne movies. Is now going to adapt it and direct it. The novel is about it's an epic tale that follows a 17-year-old boy who inherits the keys to a terrifying world where good and evil are at war. The stakes could not be higher for that world or ours as he journeys into the mythic roots of human storytelling. It is, I believe it has been optioned in the same way that most Stephen King stories are. It's $1. The Dollar Baby program remains alive and well, and is always good to see, where he will give you the rights for $1 for a certain amount of time. And then if you manage to make that movie, you owe him a giant chunk of money in the back end. If you're a student filmmaker or an amateur filmmaker, you can still do it for $1. You just can't sell it to anybody. You can play festivals, you can win awards, you can make it as a presentation reel. But the minute you charge money for it, or the minute you try to sell it, then Uncle Stevie needs his cut. But yes, there will be another Stephen King movie from a new Stephen King novel on the way, Fairy Tale. Banff man himself, JC, had asked me this question last week when we talked about D23. It's like, hey, any word about Rogue Squadron? And I said, no, I hadn't seen any kerfuffle anywhere about it this week. It has announced that the Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron has been removed from the Disney release slate. It's no longer coming out on December 22nd, 2023. It remains in development, but at this point, nobody seems to be holding their breath. In good Star Wars news, the Acolyte cast is stacked like a motherfucker. Former Good Place star Manny Jacinto has just been cast opposite Amanda Stenberg, and the newly minted Emmy winner Lee Jung Jae from Squid Game are all now in Acolyte. It also co-stars Jodie Turner-Smith. Leslie Headland, who's the showrunner, seems to be putting together a murderer's row of talent, which is, for the Acolyte, a mystery thriller that will take viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. That sounds cool. Fuck, hell yeah. Like, give me a shiny ass cast of beautiful people who are actually also very good at their jobs. And if you've never seen The Good Place and you only saw like a glimpse of Manny Jacinto in Top Gun Maverick because he got mostly cut out of that movie, he's fucking amazing. So I cannot wait to see what this show is. Batman, do you have any feelings about The Acolyte?
Banff. I don't know much anything about it. I haven't really followed that one. I don't want to say I'm getting burnt out, but there's so much out there, and like I am required daily to watch Finding Nemo or Cars or in Sesame Street. So like, yeah. If you want me to sing the Elmo's World song, I gotcha. But I try to like squeeze stuff in on Sunday nights. So, I mean, I'll watch it, but I'm more hyped for Andor.
I know, we got one more day till what, 3 hours of Andor in our face.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Andor to squeeze in there.
Are the episodes an hour long though? I feel like there's 13 episodes. They're probably more She-Hulk length, I would guess.
I don't know. I mean, it's Tony Gilroy, here's a dude who like makes legit movies. And is trying to tell this large story of rebellion and sort of oppression. Would not surprise me if he found ways to fill an hour's worth of drama.
You know what I heard? I heard that because they did the premiere, which of course we weren't invited to, but I'm not surprised that I don't get invited to Lucasfilm things, but I heard that they used the word shit in in Star Wars for the first time. Like it's the first like hard cuss word that they use in Star Wars.
Wow.
So that was
I don't know
that
how I
was the
feel
only
about
thing.
that.
I mean, people pointed out there, like Han Solo says, "I'll see you in hell." Obi-Wan Kenobi says, "What's that damn fool do?" Or Han says, "What's that damn fool doing?" About Obi-Wan. So I guess there is kind of precedent for it, but like they nudged it into, Transformers the movie 1986 territory.
Yeah, I mean it's less. It's funny. I go both ways, which is like absolutely human people. It is a staple of humanity, the invention and careful deployment of profanity. Um, and so I have no problem with anybody who's a real person under real duress, resorting to profanity to express their emotions. Um, it's the very terrestrial, very earth shit that's the weird thing. Like, not that I want them to invent a curse word that sounds shitty and silly, although
Well,
I
and they have
never
one.
minded frat. Oh, do
Well,
they?
it's Poodoo. Jabba the Hutt says it in Return of the Jedi, and then they repeat
Yeah.
it in the prequel and stuff. Not exactly like you want Cassian Andor, like life hanging by a thread, being like, "Oh, Poodoo," right?
Yeah.
But they do have a word that exists for that thing.
Yeah. I mean, that also feels a bit like, a child's word for something like, oh, it's like doo doo, it's poo doo. I get it. Um, but the frac solution took some time to adjust to, from Battlestar Galactica, but it ultimately did through repetition work its way into not just the show's fabric and feel real, but then did work into the larger version, the larger conversation outside of the show. But that requires a certain level of commitment to it. You can't just do it once and drop it. So like I get it, but at the same token, an in-world version of profanity for feels good.
I tell you what, it bothers me less than uh, in the sequel trilogy them saying Godspeed. That gets under my
Yeah.
skin a lot more because I'm like, the Force? Or like, when did the galaxy become a monotheistic
Yeah. What
place?
god are we talking about? Nobody's
Yeah.
talked about a god before,
So, anyway.
other than C-3PO, who is a god to the Ewoks.
But a god, not the god.
Yeah, right. Not the god. Um, and let's see. Our final news story is that Blade Runner 2099 has been picked up to series for Amazon Prime Video. Ridley Scott, who directed the original 1982 Blade Runner, is executive producing this live-action limited series, which is itself a follow-up to the Blade Runner 2049, which was released in 2017 and directed by Denis Villeneuve. I mean, fuck it. I have been on record saying that I didn't love the first movie and I was a little cold on the second movie. I've since come around to both. I think it was during the pandemic that I kind of sat down and watched them both kind of back to back. And then I think I appreciated them more this time around than I had in the past, simply as, especially 2049, as it's a science fiction novel. Like it's less doing a movie, it's less performing the things you expect a movie to perform, and it's more going for this kind of like impressionistic look at life as a replicant and what it means and the emotional contours of it. And it's far more like jazz than it is rock and roll. And I guess sometimes when I come to movies, I expect more rock and roll. But just wallowing in that world and in that sort of gentle character portraits, and by gentle I mean violent. I actually did appreciate quite a bit. So I'm looking forward to this. Like I'm looking forward to even getting to spend more time in that world, and accelerating that story that began in 1982, which and I've always been of the belief that even if I didn't love Blade Runner, I could appreciate what it is and what it means. Blade Runner is a hugely important movie in the ongoing cinematic evolution of science fiction. Even if for me it was never an emotionally resonant one. So I'm thoroughly happy to see that Blade Runner is coming back, and it's going to live in another iteration on the Amazons, on the Primes. So yeah, that's some good news, it feels like to me. And that's the end of the news, he says. So yeah, gang, that was it. We had a fantastic guest. We had a short-winded ad for the stiffening Blue Chew. And then we covered some news. Do we have some Q&A we want to do, Bathman? Anybody around who wants to hang out and chat?
Bam. We can do a couple. I took some cues during Aldis. So some of these will be slightly adapted because he's not here to answer anymore. So, but he was here, so I think we can
Totally.
chime in. April Kelly had wanted to know, one night in Miami, if either of them could be in that room, what is the one question they would ask?
If I could have asked Muhammad Ali or Jim Brown or Malcolm X or Sam Cooke anything, where do they get their suits? That was the best dressed cast I'd seen on screen in a long while. And it seemed as if really they had the questions well under hand in wrestling with issues like, race and class and fame and civil rights and progress. Whereas I'm the schmuck who's gonna be like, hey man, where can I get a suit that looks that good on me? Do they have a big and tall section in whatever that fucking store is? And also, where's the best barbecue here in Miami? Or where can I get some great Cuban food so I can not fit in the suit that I just bought? But yeah, I don't have any deep depth that I want to plumb with some of the greatest minds of the 20th century. That would be silly. Who the fuck am I to be asking questions of Muhammad Ali? Although I did write a graphic novel biography of Muhammad Ali, which I was able to announce the release date of, which it's a year away. So it's not pressing news, but yes, The Messenger, The Legend of Muhammad Ali is coming from Macmillan/First Second Books in April of 2023. So I'm very excited about that. I am sure as I can talk more about it, I will over the next 11 months leading up to its publication. But there is a chapter that is set in Miami. So I guess I would ask Muhammad Ali how I did in writing this chapter about his life, in which I made most of it up, except for all the things that actually happened, because that's what based on a true story is.
Quick shout out to a lot of people in UK and EU watching the show this week because we did it early. They were very excited.
Hey, hello,
Also,
hello.
We had a Morocco and a South Africa tuning in
Shit.
as well. So that's kind of cool.
Well met.
How cool is the internet? I mean, we're older. Like, could you imagine, like, before in real time talking to somebody from Cape Town, South Africa, while you're talking about nerd? I mean, I just very grandpa moment there, but it just strikes me as crazy sometimes.
Where are they calling it from? That's not possible. Shut up with your crazy future talk, Sonny Jim.
Paul Hawkins wants to know if you could have any co-host for one episode, alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Ooh, alive or dead? I think I'm going to try and find somebody dead so as to not piss off anybody alive. I think I would like to talk to, like, I'm torn between like Ray Harryhausen and Isaac Asimov and Gene Roddenberry. No, fuck it, Rod Serling. I want to talk to Rod Serling for it. Like, I I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'll say it until I die. The Twilight Zone is the greatest achievement in the history of television. It is a show in which there are no standing sets, there are no recurring characters, there are no ongoing plots. It is a short story every week. None of it can be reused, none of it can be recycled, and the hit rate on that show is remarkable. All of the crutches that regular serialized television or even regular episodic procedural television have, that show didn't have. And the fact that it ran for as long as it did, and the fact that it was as good as it was, and the fact that more than half of it was written by Rod Serling himself, along with a sort of coterie of freelancers, remains the single greatest achievement. I mean, some of the episodes were based on novels, and he would in fact get people, like Richard Matheson to come and write for him, write works sometimes based on his own books. And yes, the freelancer core was deep and strong, but that is for better or worse one man's singular vision. And I think it's very, very, very much for the better. So to talk to Rod Serling about writing that show, inventing that show, producing that show, about the challenges and the hurdles and then the benefits of not having to pay mind or heed to, the stories one sets up 3 or 4 years ago that he may or may not have ever paid off. Like, hey man, you want to talk about the internet? Let's talk about, fan entitlement. Let's talk about, the pressure to ship 2 characters that you never have to face because that's not part of your story. And it would also be great to get like Charlie Brooker on that same show, to have, Rod Serling, to have these 2 guys, these masters of the anthology form, to talk about writing similar or evocative shows generations apart, would be a hoot. Then I don't have to ask any questions. I just get to listen to Charlie Brooker and Rod Serling talk and just slack-jawed gaze at them. That I think would be hilarious. But yeah, no, Rod Serling, fuck it, yeah.
All right, and then last question, which just came in that I thought was interesting. Jarvis Brady asked, have you ever been hit up by someone whose work you have critiqued on either Fat Man or Black Man Beyond, either to ask you for more opinions or to give you their opinion on your opinion? You ever get yourself, find yourself in that awkward situation, or in a situation where you reaped praise on somebody and then bumped into them at a party?
I have occasionally, like rarely, but it has happened that I've stumbled into up against is the wrong, but into somebody who's whose movie or TV show I have had things to say about. More often than not, it's been a perfectly wonderful civil conversation. I think that there's things that I haven't liked, clearly. There's things that I've talked about not liking, clearly. There's things that I've talked about ways that I might have improved, absolutely. It is not actually often that I've just hauled off and teed something in the nuts because I thought it was awful. I think that if I think to say so would be unfair. I have been approached by like my representatives, my managers, my agents saying, hey, do you want to take a meeting with this person? They've got this in development. And I'll say no, because I did tee off on the nuts of something that person produced. And that is not a scenario that I want to be in. That's going to end well for nobody. So let's pass on that meeting. I will say one of the oddest things that has ever happened. I had a meeting with Tim Crane, who was the showrunner of Heroes, showrunner of Heroes, and was then running a show that I was having this meeting about joining the staff of, called I won't say the name of the show yet, but sit down this meeting. I go to his house. It's a lovely house in the Hollywood Hills. We have our little pleasantries, and then we sit down in his office, and then we have what is generally the content of a staffing meeting, which is they've read some of your script already, if not all of your script, your sample that your reps are sent over. So they know that you can write, or they wouldn't have asked for the meeting. So those meetings are an hour long, generally. The first 45 minutes of it are you / me, the person in this meeting, who's trying to get the job, telling them who you are, what's your story, where you're from, what's your path, and every person's story is a different story. And, because I'm an old ass person who came through this, I had a whole other life before becoming a TV writer. So there's a little bit of story to tell. And part of that story is always my time as a journalist, which is highlighted by the 13 years that I spent at Entertainment Weekly. So I'm talking to Tim about it. And he says, oh, Entertainment Weekly. It's like, yeah, no, you guys gave Heroes a lot of love. It's like, yeah, no, we loved Heroes. Like Heroes, confidentially, Heroes was one of the shows that was always a big seller for the magazine. So it was always going to find ways to be in it. Like I'm sure we put Heroes on the cover like 9 or 10 times, because over the course of those seasons, it was always something that the audience was interested in. He says, yeah, no, I remember we invited a writer in to kind of spend some time and kind of invest with invest with the staff and just to get a bird's eye view of us making the second season of the show. We mentioned the name of the writer, and I says, oh, I love that guy. He's amazing. He's a very good friend. Very glad to see what he's gone on to in the future. And then he says, that the story that he wrote pretty much destroyed the show. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, that became the narrative that, whatever that writer had written was what everybody was picking up on, because nobody else had the access that we gave you. And then he wrote a story that wasn't that great, wasn't that flattering for us. And it became the thing that defined us for a couple of years. I don't think we ever recovered from it. And so I, in the middle of this meeting, have wed myself to not just Entertainment Weekly, but to this particular writer, which was, in his eyes, the downfall of Heroes. And then I found myself in a tailspin that I'm not entirely sure that I ever pulled out of. I walked out of that meeting, called my reps. It's like, yeah, I'm not getting that job. Like it could not have gone worse. It was going gangbusters until it didn't. And then I feel like I just shot the bed, something fierce. So let's go find another job. And then 2 weeks later, I get the offer to join the staff from Treadstone, because apparently that did not shit the bed as badly as I feared it did. So while that was not a specifically thing that I had said about a person being confronted by, it was definitely a bad things were said about a person. And I was in some ways party to it, but did not actively, or at the very least, Tim was a big enough dude and a cool enough guy. Like I had a blast working for Tim on Treadstone, but he was able to look past that and see that maybe I might have something to offer. That is probably the worst it's ever gotten, but I think I've dodged the other time that might have been equally uncomfortable. So, and nobody's ever asked me for more criticism. Nobody's like, I like the things you had to say about that. But tell me more. Ask me to tell them more, which is probably better for all parties concerned. But yeah, I think is that the last of it, JC? Have we plumbed the depths of our questions?
That's 3.
That's 3. He's answered these questions 3, which means that we are bringing in this bird at 1 hour and 45 minutes.
It's like half a show.
Let's just fucking keep going. We should be here till 1, you guys. Let's order lunch. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of Black Man Beyond as much as I did, because as I said at the top, I've been a fan of Aldis Hodge from afar for a long time. I've glanced up against him, literally and physically, just once. But to get to know him a little bit, to get to understand his level of geekness and how it sort of compares and contrasts with mine. We don't have the same story, but I feel like there are enough similar touch points in our paths, from children of Caribbean parentage into people getting to work in Hollywood and make their own dreams come true, and who win the lottery by getting to do more work and are bad at vacations. It was lovely to get to know him a little bit in front of all of you. I hope you got to know him as well, and are now as big a fans as I am. Okay, so thank you, Aldis, for taking the time off on your birthday and away from a baby girl who seemed like she wanted her dad very badly to talk to us about nerd shit. So thank you again. And thank you to all of you for, if you're in Los Angeles, it's Tuesday morning. If you're in, the East Coast, you're Tuesday afternoon. And if you are in, as we said previously, South Africa or, the North Africa, Morocco, whatever, good evening. And thank you for tuning in.
We're real bad at this. We also have a live show on October 11th with Malcolm Barrett from The Boys.
We do indeed.
I'm gonna put the ticket link up right now as Marc says goodbye because I'm failing.
It's all good. Yes, Malcolm Barrett will be back. I'm not sure if we'll have a show between now and then, but if news continues to percolate, then maybe we will bounce back on here for a bit of a Black Man, a mini Black Man Beyond. But hey, thank you again for taking time out of your day to hang out with me and talk about nerd shit. So that's it for this episode of Black Man Beyond. My name is Marc Bernardin. Kevin Smith is still off on the Clerks 3 tour, and you should go and see him if he's going to be in a city near you, because I love that movie. I'm in that movie. That's not why I love that movie. I think it might be my favorite Kevin Smith movie. People ask me all the time, what's my favorite? And I always refuse to say. I think this might be it. So you should go see it and go see it with him if you can. We'll be back, same black time, same black channel, smodcast.com or youtube.com/Kevin Smith. Live long and prosper, you guys. It's hard out there. Do a little living and a little long. And prosper if you can. Peace out.
This is the Maquette. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the AKA Ask Kev Anything. Every saga has a 10-year anniversary, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what happens when Jay and Silent Bob get old. I'm Kevin Smith. Cheers,